name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Christ is risen. One time in Belarus, a group of women went to their metropolitan, and they wanted to ask him a question in the Paschal season. And I don't know if his metropolitan was in the best of moods. Maybe he was a little bit irascible. I don't know. But these women came to him and they said, "Holy Father, Your Eminence, why was it that women were the ones who see Christ first and not the apostles?" And the metropolitan turned to him and he quickly said, "Well, the daughters of Eve, womankind, talked so freely and so much that the Lord knew that if they were the first to see the resurrection, news would be spread from end to end of the world." And the women, of course, went their way. I'm not sure what they thought about this answer. So, why was it that women were the first to see Christ? Why? Why were they? Why not the apostles who toiled with him and who had been given by him graces and authorities and powers? Why is it that women see Christ first? There's a great orator from the Holy Orthodox West. His name was Peter Chrysologos. Chrysologos means golden-worded, like Chrysostom means golden-mouthed. This man, Archbishop Peter, reigned over the city of Ravenna in the 400s. He was a very Orthodox man, defended Orthodoxy, yet he's never been canonized by our church. The Latins have canonized him. Maybe he is worthy to be canonized, but he was known for his sermons, which were very concise and very powerful. And so Peter talks about this question, this great archbishop. And he says, was it because the apostles were cowards? Is this the reason? Well, the gospel seems to suggest this. It says they were bolted behind the doors for the fear of the Jews. Is this the reason? He says, no, the real reason is because this is fitting in accordance with what God wanted. And he goes on and he talks. He says that Christ is the Son of Man. Christ is male. He opened the womb and revealed himself as male, as we hear in the Nativity season. And so man has risen. The new Adam has risen. And so the first thing that must happen is that Adam has risen, and now the daughters of Eve must be the first to see him, so they may receive the news of the resurrection. Because the man has risen, and now the women must see it. They must partake of this. They must be the first to see it. And actually, this follows closely from Genesis, unfortunately. Because in Genesis, we have the opposite. We have Eve coming to Adam bearing tidings, bearing news. And this news is from the devil, that they should eat of this tree. And she brings not only the news, but she brings also the fruit, and gives to Adam, and he eats. And so in this case, what happens? The women, the daughters of Eve, are the first to go to the tomb. And they hear from the angel. There's many stories about the myrrh bearers, and we'll talk about this. There's many different variations of this event, so to say. And so when they arrive, they're greeted by an angel or angels who speak unto them and tell them the news that Christ is risen. But then they later see Christ. Some of them do. Mary Magdalene and others, they see him. And he brings to them not only the news of his resurrection, which the angels have conveyed, but he speaks it from his own mouth. And he also brings them the fruit of life, his own body, his own risen flesh. See, Christ is both the new Adam who proclaims the truth, who proclaims life, but he's also the fruit that was hung on the tree and has now been plucked. His resurrection has occurred and he has risen. And so now he shows the women his fruit, the fruit of life. And they go and they proclaim it. And you see, everything in the scriptures is so intense. It is so laid out perfectly. Because every single thing that happened before has to be corrected. And so the sorrow of the garden is at this moment healed in a different garden. Because it says Christ is buried in one. His tomb is in a garden that happens to be next to Golgotha, right next to the place of his execution. There's a garden there, and there's also a tomb in which no one has yet laid. And so the women go to the garden, and there they meet the new Adam. Now, St. Gregory Palamas also preaches on this topic, and his sermon is very interesting, and I won't go through the whole thing. But he has a slightly different view than Archbishop Peter. He says that indeed it is fitting that woman should see the risen man. He begins by saying that when Adam was created, who saw it? No one, except God, the angels. The first human being to see Adam was Eve. And so he says the new Eve should be the first to see Adam. And so he has his own hypothesis. Because if you read the four Gospels, there are very different accounts about how the myrrh bearers reach the tomb. On one occasion, they come and an earthquake rolls away the stone. At another, they say, how will the stone be rolled away? We don't know. And they arrive and they found it rolled away. And then we have meetings with Christ, and we have different things that happen. And Mary Magdalene, in one narrative, meets Christ and thinks he's the gardener. But on another account, she goes to the apostles and says, we don't know where he's been laid. He's gone. Why would she say that if she met him? And so what St. Gregory surmises is that there's not problematic narratives, it's that there are many myrrh-bearing women. Go look at the icon, there are actually many. And they go to the tomb in different groups at different times. Some come at night, and some come early in the morning as the dawn is breaking. And so different groups encounter different things. And his hypothesis is that Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, is actually the Theotokos. And she's called this because these are the sons of Joseph, her betrothed, the seeming father of Christ. And so St. Gregory's view is that actually it's the mother of God that first sees the risen Christ. She's the first one who enters and sees him. And it says the apostles won't say that directly because they don't want to make his mother the primary witness to his resurrection. Because that might not seem that powerful. But his mother is the first to see him. They say, no, many saw him. And indeed, many did. And it shows this. But this is his hypothesis. That rather than Mary Magdalene, who is the first, he says, no, the mother of God is the first. She is the first. She is the one who gives birth to God. She is the first in all things. So therefore, she is also the first to see him. This is his opinion. And I don't debate it and I don't dispute it. But this is his view. And yet the scriptures have this intense fittingness. Right? The new Adam has risen, and the next to see him is the new Eve, or the daughters of Eve. They're the first to see him. And today we're blessed, because today we have the coming of Mother's Day, and we also have the myrrh-bearers. And these seem to coincide quite well. And so motherhood is a blessing. This secular feast is a blessing. It's a great thing. Because motherhood is a great thing. It's a tremendous thing. It's a divine thing. That you imitate God and bring life into this world is a profound thing. And what I would say to mothers, I would say to them, imitate the myrrh-bearers. Be intrepid, be brave. Go and seek the vision of Christ, the vision of faith. Not dreams, we don't care about this. But go seek the vision of faith and give birth to Christ in your heart, as the myrrh-bearers have done. And then give birth to Christ in your children by faith. And give him to everyone else that you can find. And join in the celebration of these women who have reversed Eve. Instead of bringing evil news, they bring good news. They depart from the garden bearing the news of life, rather than Eve who departs from the garden in sadness, because she has brought death to Adam and to all creation. Take up the life of Christ and bring it to others, and you will be joyful, and you will have the joy of the resurrection always, now and ever, and into the ages of ages. Amen.